Good evening and welcome to City News. I'm Brandon Rowe. In the face of geopolitical tensions and foreign policy issues, several world leaders are arriving in Alberta tonight for the G7 summit. Glen McGregor joins us now from Banff. Glen, how is the Prime Minister handling his hosting duties?
Well, Brandon, even before the G7 officially begins here in Alberta, Mark Carney got a jump on the summit with a little bit of early diplomacy, meeting his British counterpart in Ottawa last night.
I can't but
The Prime Minister greeted Sir Keir Starmer at his official residence, then took him to a local pub to tip a few pints and watch Carney's beloved Oilers in the Stanley Cup Finals. They had another conversation today on Parliament Hill before both flew to Kananaskis, Alberta to meet other Group of Seven leaders. Their meeting comes as they explore ways to expand the Canada-UK trade and security relationships in response to tariffs imposed by U.S. President Donald Trump, whose expected appearance here has Kananaskis under high security as the other leaders began arriving at the mountain resort today. Australia's Anthony Albanese here as a guest, among the first to touch down in Calgary, then to be taken by helicopter to the summit site, far from the protesters' site in Banff. Trump and his tariff threats against most of the world are top of the agenda at this summit, the first G7 since he retook the White House last fall. For Carney, the hope is to avoid a repeat of the last time Canada hosted the G7 in Charlevoix, Quebec 7 years ago. After that summit wrapped, the president left in a huff, denouncing the group's joint written statement and calling then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, the host, weak and dishonest.
Well, he is the unpredictable factor, so he plays hugely into this. But he is going to be there, and I think Prime Minister Carney is hoping that it goes as well as can be expected given Donald Trump's capriciousness and unpredictability.
Leaders in Alberta will also focus on stopping the escalation of hostilities between Iran and Israel, as well as the ongoing conflict in Gaza. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky will attend as a special guest as the G7 again tries to find a solution to the war with Russia, now in its fourth year. The list of invited leaders also includes Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, potentially setting up a face-to-face meeting with Carney on the sidelines of the summit, at a time Canada's relations with India are still deeply strained following the 2023 killing of a Sikh activist in British Columbia. The RCMP allege Modi's government had a hand in the homicide and continues to investigate. But some argue India should attend given its vital role in the global economy.
And it is now a major power, an economic power, certainly even a major military power, and on key things, public digital infrastructure, for example. And all of this is vastly more important than the ongoing bilateral dispute between the Canadian government and the Indian government.
So, Glen, who else can we expect to attend this summit?
Yeah, lots of leaders attending from around the world, not just the core group of G7 and European leaders, but also a lot of invited guests. South Africa is here, Brazil is here. But before those leaders gather around the table tomorrow, Mark Carney will take what will likely be the most important meeting of the summit. That's a one-on-one with Donald Trump scheduled first thing in the morning. Now, we're not expecting any kind of major breakthrough, any resolution of the trade dispute with the U.S., but this could be a chance, Brendan, for the two leaders to advance the negotiations that have been happening on the diplomatic channel and maybe convince Trump finally to back off some of those remaining tariffs that he's put in place and still are in place on Canada.
Okay, thanks for that, Glen. And you can catch more of Glen McGregor on City News 24/7 over the next couple of days as we bring you full coverage of the G7 summit in Alberta.